All right. I'm very curious about the server structure thing. They talked about it numerous times.
And we are back.
Of course, a lot of my thinking on this comes back to just, I know we have people in our group that are going to start Head Start on the 5th and others that are going to be on the 10th.
Regarding Head Start and how our servers actually work. What the hell was that? Stop it.
Product placement, that's what that was.
This guy. It's the worst. No, anyway. So we, of course, have heard your concerns.
Joel, of course. He's such a clown. I like that dude.
I'll introduce him soon enough, don't worry. But anyway, we're going to talk about server structure and also social play, like, because some of you were concerned if someone starts Head Start and you start later, can you still play with your friends? How is that going to work for groups and guilds and all those things? And we're actually going to talk about this. And here to talk about that is this troublemaker, Joel.
My name is Chris. No.
Oh my God. Save me, please. No. The game director, you know him, you love him, maybe you hate him, I don't know. No, we'll love him.
I'm sure it'll be both.
Despite everything.
Equal elements of both, like yin and yang.
But you want to introduce yourself quickly anyway, just to chat.
Sure, my name is Chris Knife. I'm the creative director on Dune Awakening. And I'm joined here by luscious Leo.
Yeah.
And Leo, you are?
I'm Leo. I'm
Laid back
game
Leo.
designer on Dune Awakening. And yeah, as that, I am manager of the design team here in Oslo, and I also work with building systems and the social systems.
Indeed.
Right.
And this is going to be one of those sections you all love where we talk and we don't show gameplay for a few seconds.
That's true. We have assets though. We have videos and little
There's
cool
videos,
and visual assets.
Very cool infographic that someone made.
Which we're having on the screen any second now, because we talk about server structure.
That was the wrong one.
That is not the one. That is the right one. Perfect. There we go. Again,
Champion.
it's a live stream. Well, with a live stream, maybe without some hiccups.
All right.
Anyway, please.
I'm over
Joel,
here. You
talk
can
to us
see the
about
world
server
layers.
structure, servers, worlds, all the good stuff.
All right, cool. I will talk to you about this, Natasha. So Dune Awakening has a very unique, somewhat different server structure to the type of games you'd expect. If you're a survival player, you're probably used to one map, one server. But Dune Awakening has kind of a larger server structure on the back end. So we have what we call worlds. Worlds are made up of multiple servers, which we call internally sietches. So often when you join a sietch, you'll see here in this infographic that Hager Basin has this big stack of sietches. So when you sign up, you'll choose your world and then you'll join a sietch within that world. Each of those Hager Basin sietches contains maximum 40 players per map, but all of those maps add up to create the entire world. The
Definitely,
deep desert,
Camille.
the social hubs like Harko Village and Arrakis, they are actually shared social spaces in the world. The deep desert being the big PvP area in the world. And of course, like, so we're talking about, like, we have this 5-day head start. I know people are concerned. The thing is, you'll be able to join worlds that we open during that head start. We will also open more worlds when the game launches. But you can also join a sietch in a world that isn't necessarily the same sietch as your friend, but you'll be able to go and visit your friend. You'll be able to do a lot of stuff with your friend. So it's kind of, you're not going to be locked out for the most part of any content when you join after the head start. Also, I would say get better friends and let them buy you the head start. That's another thing I think is a really good option.
That's the way to go.
No, you also said 40 players per max per server or sietch. What happens if someone joins anyway? If there's like
if more than 40 people try to join at one time, so it's concurrent users, so CCU, and that means that like then they'll be put into a queue to wait to join. So we can have more characters on a server than 40. We can have, you know, several hundred, but that means people play at different times of day when people join, so there will be a queuing system in place to allow people to wait in line to get into the servers, of course.
Right. And you briefly just
And
mentioned
I'm worried about that. Anytime you have a new game start with
so
queues,
you
it's
don't
like,
actually have
please don't be a
to- or you
nightmare.
don't have
Please
to
don't be a
start
nightmare.
the same server. There are some caveats to it, but let's talk a little bit more about that. How does visiting a friend on another server work?
Well, the first and most important step is to get a friend. This is often achieved by going to a cafe or a movie theater and just striking up a conversation with a random stranger. Then once you have a friend and they are also into Dune Awakening, which is also a big moment. Oh, my mic. Sorry. I have tech support here because my mic sucks. Was I talking too loudly?
And also, it'd be good to have the visiting friends. We actually have a little video or an asset that shows that too, how you can actually visit a friend or
Well,
another.
we're talking about how to make friends first.
Sorry, well, we can talk about make friends. How do you make friends?
He's enabled sexy mode now. So now I first of all, how I make friends is I talk to them in a voice like this.
Now we have it there.
Okay, so
Yeah, nobody wants to queue. I don't want to spend my time waiting.
Automatically because they're
I wanna
added to the
play.
friend list as well. So if you have them as a friend on Steam, they will show up in your friends list in the game automatically. Then you go to the friends page. You'd simply click them and say, I want to visit this friend. It will teleport you to the nearest trade post to that friend, because obviously teleporting directly to them would be exploitable in infinite amounts of ways. Once you're there, you can join up with your friend, do everything on that siege with them, except for one specific thing, and that is build. You can't claim land. You can build on their base. You can be given ownership of their base and be able to build all the parts of their base, but you don't own the specific land claim. And that's just for database reasons. We need to make sure that we control how many people build in different locations. And then, of course, when you want to go home, you just push escape and choose return to home dimension, and it will take you back.
Right, and you can also do contracts and journey steps, like with your friends that way as well. That will kind of carry over when you go back to your home world.
Yeah,
as well.
all of the
Or home
content in the
server,
game is accessible with this visiting feature, so you can basically do it.
That's cool. At least it's going to be super easy.
You can do, on someone else's world. You can do it in your own world. So there is this cross-play feature for everyone. You'll be able to, work together. So I think people are concerned about I won't be able to meet my friends who started, but this shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to play with people, even if you're not in the same exact siege when you start playing.
Right. So we have talked about playing with your friends. Obviously, you can play solo, but then there's the usual things that you have in games: groups, guilds.
Yeah, it is nice.
You can talk a little bit about what kind of options are there to play with your friends.
And I don't know that they get into it a whole lot, but as somebody who started playing MMORPGs in the late 90s, playing Ultima Online, right, where you had, when you were on a server, it was one server, and there was a limited amount of space for you to build a house, right? And over time, over that first year of playing or whatever, it was really hard to find a place where you could place a house. So the fact that they're doing it essentially on instanced servers for the Haga Basin, right, which is essentially the PvE/starter zone, that'll be important so that we don't run out of physical space to actually build bases. It would be pretty lame for the entirety of the server, or at least all of the rock, to be, imagine, engulfed with player bases. So that's, I think, the best way to do it. And doing it instanced is a little bit like, I kind of wish it was all in the same world, but it's just not practical. So I would much rather have a shared instance like this, where it's a physical map to do stuff and you got to worry about enemies and the storm and the worms and all of that, versus the kind of player housing that we see in some traditional MMOs, where you just go to an instance and it isn't really there. You get to build and do all the stuff, but nobody else really gets to experience it unless they just come walk in and then leave. So yeah, it would be nice to hear them talk about I don't think it's something they're going to be able to do a whole lot about at this point. Either it'll be okay or it won't, playing on a different region. That's not like it's a new thing, but we'll see. I'm hoping it's at least going to be stable and that my ping's not too terrible, since, like I said, a lot of the people that I'll be playing with are EU. Although I don't know that they've decided what server we're going to play in. I wouldn't complain if it was NA, that's for sure. And something else that they didn't talk about there is the Deep Desert is shared. So like all of the sieges in the world, they've got all these 40-player instances, right? But they connect to the Deep Desert. And people have been wondering about the population in the Deep Desert. In Shroud's interview with the dev team, right, he had an opportunity to talk to them, and they answered some questions for him. They talked about the server structure and the population limits there in the Deep Desert, and it's essentially 9 zones, right? There's 9 sieges there that are interlaced as server mesh, For the Star Citizen folks, you know what I'm talking about. So they're seamless. You cross over and you get a pop-up that says you're still in a, Canley Orb Assassin zone or whatever, because the entire thing's PvP. But even though there are 9 zones there, each of those has a limit of 100 players in the zone. However, the entirety of the Deep Desert has an additional cap of 300 players in the entire zone, so that you don't wind up with every box full, right? So in some ways, it's a little less massive, even in the Deep Desert, than some people thought it was going to be. Like, there won't be 1,000 people on that server in the Deep Desert. There will only be 300 tops. And since you can only have 100 people in any one square of those 9 squares, that can be a little interesting too. I guess we'll have to see. That will kind of force the PvP to spread out some, right? Which might be a good thing. And since you're limited in 300 players in the Deep Desert overall, that does kind of mean that if you're more interested in doing the PvE content, it's a little less likely that you're going to run into players at every step, so that you can kind of get some of your PvE goals done, even though you're in the free-for-all PvP area. Again, I'm going to be very curious to see exactly how that plays out as we get into the game. I think that for most people doing general content, it's all going to be fine, right? But for the people who are in a more organized group that really want to tackle the PvP hard, it'll be interesting to see how those people react to the way that these systems all come together when it comes to the server structure.
Friends, besides visiting like their server.
Yeah, so let's start with groups. So we saw that a bit earlier in the previous segments, right, with group combat. So groups are temporary social structures of up to 4 people. And they come with some benefits, like seeing your group member status on the HUD. You see them as markers on the map.
Groups with benefits, huh?
Yeah,
Groups.
exactly.
Love those. Love those.
The best
Convenient, right? So, and then you have standard features like chat connected to that as well. And yeah, makes it more convenient to game with your friends.
Wow, Leo, could you go deeper into chat?
Deeper into chat, yes. So this is a groundbreaking feature that we've developed, right? Never seen before in online games.
I think more importantly, a more important question, but thank you, Joel.
I like their
who can be in a group? Yes,
Yeah.
right. So
unserious
how do you
comedic
know
approach
right?
sometimes with the chat. It's nice that they
compared
feel
to guilds.
relaxed enough to talk about the game that way.
Long-term social structures, right? So you can be up to 32 players in a guild, and they're structured with hierarchies where you have one leader, any number of officers to help manage the guild, and then a roster of members as well. And guilds, they of course also have this groundbreaking chat feature like that we have.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And yeah, and both
Imagine
parties or groups
guild
and
comms.
guilds, they are
Again,
across
right,
the
Camille?
world.
Pay
Right,
attention,
so
CIG.
people in the Deep
Get
Desert,
that done for Star Citizen, right?
together, you can
Not
do
even a
that.
guild
Doesn't
chat,
matter if you're
man,
on
for
different
the
servers,
orgs.
still works fine. And yeah, something else you can also do with the guilds is that once you progress through individual faction alignment far enough, you can actually align your character to a specific faction, and as a continuation of that, you can pledge the allegiance of your guild to one of the major houses. So either
Now, Leo,
Yeah.
you like to be an Atreides, but I like to be a Harkonnen. And
For
if we're,
sure.
if we're in a guild together, and you pledge allegiance to the Atreides Lord, what's going to happen to me?
you're going to get booted right out of it.
You can make a guild with me. I'm Harkonnen too, so it's fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hardcore
Let's
Harkonnen. We have to shave our
go
heads, but we're
Harkonnen.
good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Yeah.
Totally.
Don't allow mixed guilds.
totally okay. No mixed skills.
No house mixing in this game.
Yeah.
We talked about chat. When you talk about chat, you mean actually text chat. However, we do actually have proximity chat as
We
well.
do have proximity voice chat as
proximity
well.
voice chat. Yes,
Common
I think.
feature of survival games.
Off by default, so that you don't have to be annoyed by that person running past swearing.
But what is it? Anyway,
You
I
can
think
turn
it's
it on.
fun. I think
Yeah,
I think
voice proximity is
chat
fun. You just,
It's
you
super
know,
fun.
we got to protect the people's ears.
I know. No, I mean it's good that you can choose. Some
Yeah,
people
you
don't
can
like
choose.
it. Some people enjoy it. so you can choose. But what we also see there is edit permissions.
I do
So
hope
when
that
we talk
VoIP
about
is going to be
guilds,
often
we do
used in the
actually have
game,
a
because
whole permission
the
system in
whole
game for
typing chat thing
whole
is nice to have as an
right? Like,
option,
tell us
but
a little bit
if you
more about
need
that.
to know something quickly, if you're trying to
survival games
change
only
the
have those
tone
type
of an
of
interaction with another player, especially when it
that
comes
you
to
can build
potential
in a world,
PvP,
and we have that as well.
instantly,
And,
VoIP is
we have
definitely a
longer
way
term
better
persistence
tool than trying to
most
chat at somebody and say,
survival
wait,
games.
I
So
am your
we
friend,
need
please
some
don't
robust
shoot,
way
you
of
know?
sharing access to certain type of assets in the game, right? Like bases,
Hey, how you doing,
but also
Baxo?
vehicles. So here we also have this hierarchical type of system similar to what we have in guilds. So
It's a purple
here you can
buggy.
see on screen now for vehicles, for example, where you can add your friends to a list, which gives them some type of access depending on what you want to promote them to. So they can be associates or they can be co-owners. It's the same system for bases and vehicles. And the way each rank works is that it comes with a certain specific rights. So, for example, for removing the subfief console here that you see, you require owner level permission. So
No stomach issues that makes you feel strange. Well,
make sure you
hopefully
give-
that's at least a good
No,
strange.
make sure you give the right permissions to, again, the friends that you can actually trust.
Yeah, you want to be careful. And then we also have this.
I'm glad they've got this
additional
complex
level, you can
permission
control the
system
specific access level
as well. I think
for
that's going to
each
be
object in
important
your
for
base.
for people that are actually your
For example,
friends
if you want
in
to
the
set that
cooperative
to only
gameplay.
be accessible by you as an owner, you can do that. If you want to set it to be accessible by co-owners or associates, you can do that. But then we also have two additional
You probably
levels.
jinxed it, probably so.
So you can set a door or machine or anything like that to be accessible by any guild member or also by the public. If you want to be nice to the travelers or that are coming by, give them some shelter.
We actually have seen that in the beta. We have like several beta players who just build bases and then open it up to everyone, especially
Or
like
no.
at the beginning to new players.
No
So
buns.
They can come in, they can get some
Put hot
water, they
dogs
can
in
get
taco
some
shells.
Basic resources and shells. You can do that. You
Taco
can be
hot
nice,
dogs.
a nice guy or a
Or you
nice
can
girl or
trap
a
them
nice
and kill
person.
them. That's
Yes,
also an
I mean that's
alternative.
the other thing. Like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
How,
depending on.
could you walk us through how the permissions?
How many accounts you got logged in, dude?
For that,
Okay,
yeah, that's
so
another stream, I think.
okay, let's
Oh,
go.
come on,
Let's
we
get
know they're a
into
huge audience.
so when we go into all this level of control that you have over permissions, and it can be a little bit like intimidating almost if you go intimidating. You know what is it now?
I know.
Yeah,
I understand.
Anyway,
You're intimidating. I get it. You scare me.
I'm intimidated.
Shoulders down.
So it can be a little bit intimidating because it feels like a lot of work, but there's actually a more streamlined option that you can do as well, and it makes it a bit more easier to set all these permissions.
Yeah, so we have a lot of assets tied to Joel's scenario here that he painted, and you want to
Assets
give.
tied.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to give access to a lot of bases and vehicles used for his scenario, then you can open the profile for a friend, for example, that you want to give access to a lot of assets. And it's a simple list where you can click, okay, I want to give this person access to that base, that base, that base, and these 3 vehicles.
I wish they were showing
It's done
this.
from a distance. So it's very convenient to set up.
Absolutely. Cool. I think this
Oh,
is
I
actually.
still- my
we
wife
have
is hollering at
actually
me. One
last
second,
thing.
y'all.
We have.
The shield maiden is trying to get into the garden there.
That shows where in the world we have our
A
worlds.
server farms.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
There we go.
So, I mean, this is where we're going to have servers at launch across the world. So people can see. I mean, the one in Australia, it's actually kind of on the east coast because it's closer to Sydney. And I see that the Australian name is in the wrong place, but that's okay. I don't
It's
expect,
fine.
I don't expect it.
We're only
no one
talking
in the
top
Northern
level.
Hemisphere gives a shit
It's
about my
fine.
country.
We're not
But
talking about the actual locations right now.
But
We're
we
just
will
talking
have
about high
we
level.
will have servers in all of these countries and locations, so people will
can
have the
choose.
best possible ping. I think the most screwed people are in South Africa, but we also believe that because they don't know where they parked their car because they're South African and they speak Afrikaans, they can.
She's like, please shut up. Stop.
That's fine. That's usually the best ping for them.
Perfect. Okay, but you'll see. We'll have tons of options for you to choose from to make sure you have.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the open beta. I can't wait to get in and play.
Especially also for PvP, of course, very important. Since
The
we
whole
have-
builder survival thing. I'm definitely keen to
Yep.
Yeah.
get
But
into one
I
hardcore
think
because I've not
that's it
played
for
much
the
of that
actual
kind of game.
segments. Joel, thank you so much for your contribution to this stream. We always appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to be here.
I'll
today.
be talking to HR tomorrow, but yeah, it's okay. It's all fine. Again, it's like my 10th complaint. No, also Leo, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your time
and,
as well.
thank
Actually,
you.
we will see you again shortly,
Yep.
because after a quick break, we actually go into our Q&A. Leo will be back. Joel will unfortunately not be here. For the Q&A, we will have him.
Sarcasm, unfortunately.
Once he calmed a little bit down from his caffeine overdose. I don't know.
To the audience, I hope you enjoyed the dry humor. That's how we roll on Arrakis, you
The
know.
vibing, the dry
was-
humor.
I was
on
just super
the
arrogant
pun.
with this live stream today.
Oh dear God. Okay, yeah. Let's just go with the video. Beautiful Arrakis.
I loved your highliner, by the way.